From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stounger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
Hi, y'all are. Cajun Rob here hanging out with you.
Well, tonight we have a very popular angler. She's down from Texas. Well, down in Texas, I should say. Tiffany Leal. She's dedicated tournament angler, content creator based in Texas. She's also a mother of two and a full-time attorney. One thing that people know is she's carved a unique niche into her fishing community through her passion and commitment. In 2022, she placed third place as a co-angler on the Bass Open on Ross Barnett. And she also secured 8th place overall in Angler of the Year standings for the Central Opens. Let's see, she's going to be fishing some of the Bass Opens this year. And beyond tournaments, she's active on social media, which is where we found her. And Tiffany's exemplifies dedication and passion in the fishing community, inspiring many with her journey and achievements. So let's bring Tiffany up.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening, y'all.
You staying warm in Texas?
Yeah, trying to. They think a big storm's going to be coming in maybe tomorrow. So we'll see if we actually get any snow. Hopefully not too much sleet and ice. But.
I texted John this morning. He's warmer in New York. He's in New York State. I'm in Kentucky. He's warmer than I am right now.
And less snow.
Yeah, that too.
Yep. Well, we don't get, down here in Austin, we don't get snow very often, so it'll be interesting. They've already closed the schools. They've preemptively closed the schools for a snow day, so we'll see if we actually get any. It may just be a false alarm. But
I think our schools here have been closed 2 weeks, some of them, so it's crazy here.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's ice, a lot of ice still. So
yeah. And that's what we usually get. We just get roads that get frozen over, and it's gross.
Oh yeah. I used to live in South Mississippi. We get ice, all the pine trees start snapping. Of course, we'd lose power. So
yep, we get that with our live oaks. All the live oak branches start breaking.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the fishing business. I'm in the tackle business, and I know a lot of my shops south of San Antonio, they're in a drought. A lot of their lakes are shut down.
Yep.
That's kind of weird this time of year, but a bunch of them shut down, unfortunately. But got a couple of comments right off the bat here.
Barky Grugers, he's a longtime watcher, says, y'all better tighten up. Let's go.
Yeah, he posted 5 minutes for the show. So
yeah.
He is dedicated.
Ashley Klaus says, hey, y'all.
Hey, Ashley.
All right. So, Tiffany, if you don't mind talking about a little bit about how you got started into fishing. And
Sure. So fishing, I just kind of fished growing up. We would go, my aunt and uncle had a ranch, and so we'd go fish out on their ranch in the stock ponds. And then, later in life, my sister, she now owns a ranch, and so I would go fish their ponds all the time. And kind of at the 2020 era, I was going through some things in my personal life, and I really turned to fishing as a way to connect with myself, to connect with God, a way to just reflect and spend time by myself doing something that I loved and enjoyed. And so kind of in the midst of all that, COVID happened. And during COVID, since I'm in Austin, we shut down pretty quickly. And my parents live out on the ranch. So I would go out and stay with them, weeks at a time, and work from there, and wake up every morning, get to go walk down to the pond and fish. And so during that time, I really kind of reconnected with fishing. I started learning a lot more. I started the social media thing, which expanded, not only my knowledge of fishing. I was able to learn so much from, anglers on YouTube and on Instagram. At that time were the two kind of main that I followed. But I learned a lot from them. And I also started to grow my community of anglers, who I associated with. And through that, I grew into tournament fishing. And I fished my first tournament in 2020. or no, I take it back. I fished my first tournament in 2021, and I just fell in love with it immediately. Signed up for the BFLs that year. I fished, all the BFLs in down Rayburn that year. And then in 2022, I started fishing the Open as a co-angler. And again, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I fished both BFLs and the Opens that year. And so I've just kind of still been doing that. This year, I'm starting to transition to the front of the boat, which is a big jump for me. I just bought myself, I had a bass boat, but it was an older one. So I bought a newer one with newer technology and going to be making that transition. So fishing some team tournaments and I'll fish some solo front of the boat tournaments this year. So really, really excited about that. But that was kind of my path to fish.
Nice. Seems like it was a nice path, though.
Yeah. It's been a really, really fun journey. I've grown a lot. My knowledge has grown a lot. There's, people think you just pick up a rod and reel and know how to fish, but there's a lot to it. And the deeper you go in it, the more rabbit holes you dive down. And I've slowly kind of tried to master the different techniques that I use. And there's still a lot out there. Like this year, I really want to focus on working on my cranking. I feel like from the back of the boat, I didn't do as much, crankbait fishing as I will from the front of the boat. And I enjoy that style of fishing. So I'm going to start exploring that more, working on that more, and working on my skills. But in the back of the boat, I've got really great at fishing techniques like Texas rig and shaky heads, jig fishing. I've gotten really, really good at those kind of styles of bottom contact baits. So I just want to expand on that, moving forward. So,
and being on the back of the boat, you're throwing a crankbait. You're always like, man, I'm gonna get hung up. I'm gonna have to stop. So in back of your mind, you're like, I don't want to get hung up and bother my boater. That's how I was.
Plus, a lot of times it's just awkward with the boat position and casting to the bank. Because you're casting either parallel, which you can't really get a good cast forward. So you're either casting back parallel or you're casting, right at the bank. And it's just, you're not going to catch as many fish doing it that way. So
right.
I usually just, if I'm going to do that, I just pick up a little swim bait or I pick up, a Texas rig or something or a jig and just pitch it up on the ledges and do a technique that's different than what my boater's doing. But
there you go.
Yeah.
So that's key. What you said is do something different than your boater, right? That is key.
Yep.
Yes.
Unless they're absolutely killing them and they say, hey, here, take a pack of these.
Yeah.
You catch them. Yeah.
What would Barking Mover says, tell that boater to duck and cover. Treble hooks are coming through.
Oh man. I've had some bad casts in my co-angler days, especially early on, you just it happens.
Sorry.
I haven't hooked any of my boaters though.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I have hooked their motor cover though.
Oh yeah, wrapped around the power pole. Yeah, I've been there.
A good friend of mine, first time I went out fishing with him, he got a new boat. I don't know, this is probably about 8-10 years ago. And he goes, let's throw some crankbaits. My first one, I hooked his seat. First cast.
Whoops.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry about it. Cut the hook and go from there. But what would you say is your favorite technique?
My favorite technique is still probably Texas rig and jig fishing. A Texas rig, I really love fishing it. I love the versatility of it. I enjoy fishing it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to throw a Senko, but I actually love fishing Senkos. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so that's probably what I fish more than any other technique. But I also love jig fishing. And jig fishing, I really got into about 2 years ago. I really started practicing my technique, practicing pitching, practicing flipping, getting that bait to enter the water really well, really slowly working that jig, making sure I could feel the bottom all the way. And that jig bite's just fun. It's a fun.
That thunk. Just like, there he is.
Yep. A lot of extra hook sets with the jig fishing, I feel like, because I said it, you feel nothing, you set it. You feel something, you set it.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's a log, sometimes it's a fish, sometimes it's nothing. But
yeah. One of my old team partners told me how to jig fish. He says anything different, if it's spongy or if it feels like you got a leaf, it's probably not a leaf. So
yeah, or if you feel nothing anymore, set that hook.
Like somebody cut your line. Yeah. Absolutely.
But those bottom contact baits, I just enjoy that. I enjoy feeling the bottom. I enjoy working my bait on the bottom. Finding out what different retrieve is really going to work for the bass that day. So I like that, figuring out that puzzle with those bottom contact baits.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Andrew Pulliam and John Adams says, "Good evening, guys."
Yep.
Good evening. Barking Guru says, "Passed by Cabela's this evening, and the outdoor pond had a couple of inches of ice covering the border rocks."
Wow.
Yeah, he's South Central Louisiana. I know exactly where he's at, so that's pretty weird.
I sent him that picture I sent you about the Louisiana State snowplow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said no. They just let it melt. Jerry May says hello.
Hey, Jeremy, what's going on?
All right. So,
our old buddy John Adams.
Yep, John Adams says good evening. How did you get the handle Texas Bass Babe?
So growing up, my sister called me Tiffy Babe. That was kind of my nickname.
Okay.
And so it really was just a random thing. One day I just decided to make an Instagram. I'd been posting pictures on my personal Facebook, and an old friend of mine from high school was like, "You should really make a fishing Instagram." And at that time, I didn't even know this whole community of people existed. Like I wasn't even, I think I had a personal Instagram page that I like post my son's pictures to. But I really didn't post on Instagram. I didn't really use Instagram at that time. And so he was like, "You really should just check it out. Like make a page. Like you're posting all these big bass on Facebook. Like people will like it." And so randomly one day I was sitting there out by the pond like I normally did in the summertime, and I just made an Instagram and I just chose TX Bass Babe. and had I known at the time what I know now, I probably wouldn't have chose that handle, because I think for some people it may insinuate that they're going to get more than they get from my page because I'm fully clothed, in every photo. But it's worked out, and it's kind of become my alter ego that, I won't have people walk up to me and be like, "Texas Bass Babe." And I'm like, "Hey," so it's kind of a funny thing. It's become a whole nother personality for me, outside of my day job. So
yeah, I could just see it. Like, I don't know what kind of attorney you are, but I could just see you being in court and having someone says, "Are you Texas Bass Babe?"
Yeah, and it's funny because I do construction law. That's why
okay.
Both transactional and litigation.
Mm-hmm.
But for a while I was kind of embarrassed of it. I was almost like I didn't want to tell people my handle, or I didn't want to tell them that I had this whole like side gig of, kind of a fishing influencer type thing going on. And I've got to the point where I'm like, you know what, screw it. I just own it. I love it. I'm super proud of the brands I work with. So why be ashamed of it? So I've gotten to the point where, most of my co-counsel on the other side, opposing counsel, they all know that I do fishing, and they all come to court and ask me about it. So I've embraced it for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. Got a couple comments. Let's run through these. Ashley says, "Me too. It's a whole different ball game."
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a moving to the front, and she's a heck of an angler. Great angler.
Ashley.
Yep.
And that makes me happy. I'm really excited, starting to see more women in tournaments. I'll say that's one of the really frustrating things for me on the opens. There were some tournaments that I was the only female in the whole tournament. And sometimes it would be, 2 or 3 of us. Even this last year, most of the ones I fished had max 3 females in the entire field. So I'm hoping to see more women, especially in the front of the boat, because I think if we can get women fishing from the front of the boat, it's going to inspire a lot of other women to be like, I can do that too. And that's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see a field and familiar faces out there with me. So,
well, you have a couple women's organizations around you, don't you?
I do. Yeah. The Lady Bass Anglers Association. I'm going to fish a couple of their events towards the end of the season.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
We know the guys that run it, and I actually went to Guntersville and watched their weigh-in last event of last season. Do an awesome job. And one thing I noticed, there was like a little pavilion, and every lady angler was there to watch the whole weigh-in. Nobody left. I thought that was awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that really impressed me.
Cot, is a jig good year round?
Heck yeah. Yeah, you may have to fish it a little slower, a little faster. Your retrieve may change a little bit, but yeah, I throw a jig year round, especially right now in the cold weather. I love throwing a jig.
Two things I'll throw in the cold weather are jigs and silver bodies.
Yeah, rattle traps. Got to throw that rattle trap in the wintertime.
Oh yeah, especially in Texas. You're Texas.
I'm not biased at all.
If you're in Texas, you have a rattle trap.
Before I ever signed Bill Lewis, I'll tell you, Bill Lewis, that company, they were the first company to ever send me anything, and they didn't want anything in return. They were just like, we can tell you love fishing. Here's a box of rattle traps. Try them out, see if you like it. And it's funny because the manager who had sent them to me, I saw him recently at one of the events out at ICAST, and him and I were talking about that, and he's like, I remember when we sent you that stuff, so it's just kind of funny. And at that time, I had like 500 followers. Like, I didn't have a huge following or anything, but it was just that they were like, we can tell you love fishing and you're a Texas girl, so here's some rattle traps. And but yeah, so they're kind of near and dear to my heart. But running rattle traps through grass is again one of the most fun bites you can have, and right now is like prime time for that.
Oh yeah, when we try to rip the rod out of your hand, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You could do that up here. You just gotta jig it though.
Oh yeah,
you're going through the ice. Yeah, through the ice.
Through the ice. Yeah, I still have never been ice fishing. In Texas, we don't get hard water really. So we have open water year round, and we don't have an off limit season. So you can fish, for bass year round. I know some states you can't do that.
Yep. Right. New York's one of them.
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over. I had strep throat last week. So.
Oh, you good? You're good. We're on a couple of comments here real quick.
Andrew Pulliam says, congrats on the new boat.
Thanks, Andrew. I recognize
what boat did you get?
So I got a 2019 Ranger.
Awesome. Great boat.
A 520C. So I think it'll be a really good boat for me. And it was super clean. It only had 88 hours on it for being, a 2019. So the guy had taken really, really good care of it. And I needed to upgrade a lot of the electronics because it was kind of bare bones when I got it. Like, it didn't even have a hot foot, didn't have power poles or any of that. Obviously, I need to add live scope and graphs to the front of it. So I've put right now it's at the rigging shop getting all rigged up. So should get it back this weekend.
Awesome.
Nice. Congrats.
Yep.
James Minold, he's our guest tomorrow. He says, hey guys, what's your biggest fish? What's your biggest bass?
So my biggest bass, I feel like, isn't even really that big, but my biggest largemouth is 6 pounds, 6 ounces. It actually was a lake record because of the length for catch and release on Lake Fayette here in Texas. It was a really long bass, but she was just skinny. It was post spawn. But I still haven't caught a really, really big one. And you'd think fishing the lakes that I fished that I would have by now, but I catch a lot of 5 and 6 pounders, but not a ton over that. So I'll get there. It's one of those things. It's a numbers game. You just got to keep going and being around the right fish.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
And my biggest smallmouth is a 4.5. And I caught that this year on St. Clair.
Oh,
okay. Cranford's Refrigeration LLC says, amazing angler.
Excuse me.
There you go.
Thanks.
All right. What's your favorite bait, James? We already gave that to you.
My favorite bait is Senko. I could probably get a lot of grief for that, but I really do. That's, even when I was younger, like, I remember fishing Senkos, and that's what I mainly fished. That and little swim baits are what I drew most of the time. And, I had little spinner baits in my box and stuff, but I kept it pretty simple. And so Texas rig fishing was my introduction to bass fishing. And so I guess it's near and dear to my heart. And I've gotten pretty darn good at it.
Yeah. And a Senko is very versatile. I mean, there's so many different ways you can use it. So, I mean, that can't beat it.
Yep.
Now, do you use, I know some people, including myself, who will use the original Senko for wacky rigging, and then when they Texas rig something, they'll use a different one. I'll use the
Yamamoto.
Okay.
And I've always kind of been that way.
Okay.
And it's funny, back on my Instagram page, before I'd signed with Yamamoto, everyone knew I loved Senkos. I would talk about them all the time. I'd do videos on, Texas rigging and different ways to fish Texas rigs and those kind of things all the time. And so people started sending me stick baits. So I actually did a little stick bait review, I mean, this was before reels was a thing, way back. But yeah, I would do little reviews of different kinds of stick baits. But the Senko, from Yamamoto is just tried and true. And there's just something about the way it falls and the way it shimmies that's different, I feel like, from a lot of the competitors. I'm not saying you can't catch fish on the other ones, because I'm sure you can. There's just something different about that formula. And they haven't, you hear all these rumors, they're changing the formula. They haven't changed the formula. No. The formula is exactly the same as it always has been. So, yeah, I'm a loyalist when it comes to Senkos.
Yeah, I heard a story. I think Gary told one time that he has one machine at his factory that punts out green pumpkin Senkos year round, 365 days a year. It makes green Senkos. So that's pretty cool.
Now I just buy them in those bulk. You can buy them at, the 100 pack. So I just get the 100 pack, and I got green pumpkin and black and blue all year round.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
I love red shad, though. Red shad is actually my favorite color Senko. It's got an old full color, but I've caught a lot of fish on that red shad color, especially in, tannic water. And
yeah, I've done good on the green pumpkin magic, watermelon magic. Those have been two pretty good colors for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that baby bass is a good color in the spring too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Kat says they used to be in Alexandria, Louisiana. When I was young, we went down the field trip to their shop and get free bait. Love the rail traps.
Oh, that's
good memories. Awesome. That's good memories there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Rob. I'll let you ask a couple of questions.
Okay, I'm going to get this one real quick from our buddy Birkin Rugers.
All right. What's your favorite size rattle trap?
Oh, I think the original. I mean, 1/4 ounce.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's an awesome little bait. Very, very underrated.
Yeah.
But I know we have some younger anglers that's just getting started out. And talking about the women, I fished the BFLs in Kentucky and Tennessee, and I see a lot more young ladies, college, high school, being in the BFLs. So that's a good thing to see. But we have some of them watching. What would be your advice of a young angler trying to start their social media up? Do you have any advice kind of getting started up? Some tip?
For female anglers specifically, I think a big part of it is staying positive and staying true to yourself.
Yep.
And I think it's easy, and I'm going to tread lightly in how I say this, but I think it can be an easy trap to fall into, to want to sensationalize your page. And if that's who you are and you're comfortable with that, more power to you. But for me, I don't like that kind of attention. And so I just really steer clear of that and try to stay true to who I am. I represent brands that I enjoy, that I actually fish, that I, actually am proud to represent. And as a female, I think you get a lot of offers out there. And, for every brand I represent, I've probably turned down 10 offers because it just wasn't who I am. It wasn't my style of fishing. It wasn't products that I've actually used. And so I think that would probably be my best advice, is be positive, stay true to who you are, show the truth in your fishing, don't be holding up other people's fish, that kind of thing. I mean, it happens, but but I started my journey barely knowing anything. And, I had a community of people who rallied behind me to help me both learn how to fish new techniques, to also learn how to tournament fish. I literally fished my first tournament and I showed up with a backpack. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I had one little box, and I had a friend bring me a co-angler bag and be like, this is what you need, and you need to have all this stuff in it. The fishing community, I think, is one of the best communities out there. So supportive. We uplift each other, and sure, there's a lot of drama and all of that, but if you just stay out of that and stay positive, I think people kind of gravitate to you because of that.
Absolutely. And like me and John said, it's like a big community, but it's kind of a tap-knit community at the same time, seems like.
Absolutely.
But here's somebody you might know.
Bassboat Wired.
Speaking of one of my sponsors, for all of your electronic needs, go to bassboatwired.com.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. Get that plug in early and often.
So that's the shop. That's where my boat is right now, at Bass Boat Wired. And they're doing all the rigging for me. And he says it's coming along. So
awesome. Good news. Good news.
My boyfriend went and dropped the batteries off today. We were putting some lithium batteries in it. So
what kind?
I don't know, because he ordered.
Okay. Okay. No worries.
I don't have like a battery brand or anything. I'm not sponsored by anybody. So we just got some. I think we got them on Amazon or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite body of water to fish?
I have a place in my heart that's near and dear to me, and it's Sam Rayburn. I love that lake. I love Lake Fork too. Lake Fork is one of those lakes that just really lends to my style of fishing really well. But Sam Rayburn, I've probably fished that lake the most, even though it's about 5 hours from where I live.
Oh, wow.
I go out there a lot. We have a house in Jasper. So I spend a lot of time out there, and I just, it's an awesome lake. You can go fish the Black Forest and flip trees all day. You can fish brush piles. You can fish deep, fish shallow. It's a great body of water, and there's awesome fish in it. And it gets pressured. It gets a lot of pressure, but it's, it's kind of where I cut my teeth in tournament fishing. And so for that reason, I just love it. But
Bass Boat Wire says LI time.
LI time. Okay, that's the batteries I got.
All right. On the open schedule this year, is there any lakes that you're not wanting to go to?
So I'm actually not fishing the open. So my plan was to fish the opens, and I had fully enrolled in Division 2 of the opens, and I was confirmed. And then they
that's right. I forgot. Yep.
So,
they did away with the co-anglers.
So
I forgot. I'm sorry about that.
Initially I was a little upset about, because I love fishing the opens, and what I love about the opens is getting to fish lakes that I don't fish every day. Getting to fish, experience with an experienced boater, getting to go out on lakes and see the best of that water, for 2 days. And usually I go practice, the few days before. And so I get to spend a week on a lake that I have no experience with. Like this year, St. Clair, was one of those lakes that I really, really enjoyed, because it was just completely different than anything I had ever done. And so I was excited. I was really excited to fish Kentucky Lake this year. It's probably the one I was most excited about. But they cut the co-anglers, and I honestly think for me that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because I've continued fishing as a co-angler because it's what I'm comfortable at. And if there's anything in life, like getting too comfortable in something is probably one of those things you shouldn't do. And so I feel like maybe I'm getting a little too comfortable in that co-angler seat, and it gave me the jolt I needed to be like, you know what, you can spend this season focusing on transitioning to be a full-time boater next season, and hopefully jump into some of the opens next year as a boater, from the front of the boat. So that's my plan this year. I'm kind of training up, going to fish some team tournaments, going to fish some of those LBAA tournaments. And make that transition for next year. So
Good plan.
And just to let you know, the BASS did not do that just for Tiffany. Okay, she didn't cancel. They didn't cancel co-anglers to force Tiffany to go to the front.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot, of, obviously I had a lot of co-anglers who were my friends, a lot of people who I fished with for years, and we've been housemates and all fished together as co's, and some of the best co-anglers literally in the country. And I talked with a lot of them about it, and bass just didn't have the turnout, honestly, is what it came down to. And I understand the decision. I really do. I get why bass made the call that they did. They only had a handful of us even confirmed for a full tournament trail. So they didn't even have enough for payouts or for, to push the co-angler program forward. And so I respect their decision. Bass, I have had a great relationship with them and working with them and fishing their tournaments. It's been done really, really well. And I've, fished different tournament trails. So I've kind of seen how things are handled on different ends. And bass is one of the best ones. And I know there's always drama and things that occur and people griping about whatever, but it's a well done tournament. And I've enjoyed fishing them, and I've gained so much knowledge and so much experience in fishing those opens. So I'm proud of the, 3 years that I got to do it, and moving forward, hopefully going to get to fish it on the other side.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
But another thing, being on a co and the bass opens, you always get at least 2 days with, different boaters and different styles, and even, riding different boats. You say, well, I like this boat because of this. Yeah. I don't like that boat because of that. So that's never bad.
I've made so many good friends, in fishing those opens. So many boaters who have let me go and pre-fish with them in the next tournament, and just a variety of friends from all over the country and even from Japan. I fished with a few of the Japanese anglers, and Kita was the first Japanese angler I ever fished with, and he is just the greatest guy. Him and I say hi to each other every time we see each other. Like, great experiences. So I can't say enough about how. I'm sad to see it go, because I would love for other people to get that entry level experience that I got. And it's kind of sad to me that that's not going to be there anymore with bass. And so, maybe in the future they'll develop something else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I bet they will.
But it would be great if they did.
Do you think that a forward facing topic has hurt the co-anglers down south?
So I can only speak from my personal experience,
right? And
I can tell you, for me, that was never a major issue. I know other people who had really bad experiences with it. There was always boaters who are gonna, kind of backboat you, like running you, however you want to say it. But I never had really the forward facing sonar thing. I think probably for me, the hardest thing was when they would turn the boat a whole lot and you have a cast out and you're constantly having to reel up and re-pitch because, they're spinning their boat in circles, chasing the fish. And so I think that was probably the hardest for me, but I never felt like I was ever put in a position where I couldn't still catch fish.
Yeah.
Even on St. Clair, day one, I was with Trevor McKinney, and he was the leader that day. He had a hell of a day. It was incredible to watch. But he had his trolling motor all the way up because he was just gunning, and finding fish. So he would just troll around until he found one and then snipe it with, his little minnow. Yeah. And so that's hard to fish behind, like when they've got that trolling motor up super fast. But you just have to adapt. You drag a drop shot behind the boat, you drop it down by the motor to get any fish. Like when he's bringing one in, usually there's a whole school of them chasing it. So you drop it down by the motor and hopefully you get one. And I caught a lot of fish that way that week. So I think you just have to learn to adapt. And I don't know, I think for a lot of guys, as co-anglers, they don't see it that way. They want to fish their style and fish to their strengths, and you can't always do that. And so for guys who want to fish their way, sure, I'm sure it did hurt some of them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Got a couple comments real quick, John, from some of our good friends.
Hi, chat.
Miss Angie from Fisher, and actually
Tricia from Fisher says, "Good evening, all. Hope you're ready for Knoxville, Rob."
I'll see you there. I'll be your gopher, and I'll get you coffee or whatever. So you just name it. There's a big fishing expo in Knoxville coming up next weekend. Great show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? What about the Toyota series? Are you gonna fish any of them this year?
I have gone back and forth with whether or not, because I did consider transitioning and just fishing the Toyota series instead of fishing the opens. The Toyota series that's closest to me would be Rayburn, and the majority of them are on Rayburn. So for me, I'll fish Rayburn anyways. So it's kind of like, I'm not getting that same experience that I would get. And I've thought about going to fish maybe one of the other divisions in the Toyota series as a co. But I'm kind of going back and forth on whether I should just focus on the boater side and doing that rather than spending my money fishing as a co and traveling all over the country, which is what I've done the last few years. But
what do you feel is going to be the biggest hurdle from switching from the back of the boat to the front?
Yeah, for me, I think there's a couple things. One, I didn't grow up around boats. So there's a comfort level and just a knowledge level. I have been put in bad situations by boaters as a co-angler, and I don't ever want to be that person. So I want to make sure that if I'm the one controlling my boat, that I know what I'm doing, and that I'm keeping everyone around me and in my boat safe. And so just that knowledge level of boating and that kind of hours behind the wheel, it's one of those things you don't know until you do, right? So you don't know how you're going to handle a situation until you run into that situation. And so I just need to have more experience to build up my confidence level. And if my battery dies in the middle of the lake, what do I do? Like those types of situations. I just want to make sure I'm comfortable in. And then the second thing is electronics. I mean, there is a lot to boating and to finding fish, a lot more than people think. It's not just dropping your live scope into the water and magically you have fish in front of you. And so, I've been working on reading maps, reading electronics, and I'm familiar with a lot of it because obviously I've been tournament fishing for years now. And so I've seen all of it and I've used some of it, but just, again, that comfort level, building up that knowledge, building up, that base of experience, which is what I'm hoping to do throughout this season.
Absolutely.
Nice. James Monroe says, "Come fish the Centrals. You'd like it."
The Centrals for Toyota, James?
Yep.
Yes. I don't know. I'm kind of partial to the Northerns.
Yeah.
That's
good. We always go to Chickamauga and Guntersville, so they do get some good lakes in.
I mean, the only problem with me is, like, even though I'm in New York, Lake Champlain's still 5 hours away for me.
Yeah.
And it's only an hour longer to get to Potomac.
And that's how Texas is too. I mean, for me, Rayburn, it's 4.5 from here, and Toledo's 5.
And where we launch out of the St. Lawrence is little over 3 hours for me. So
yeah, the St.
driving
Lawrence
wherever I
is definitely
fish.
on my bucket list. I haven't fished St. Lawrence yet, and so I was hoping to do it this last year, but the tournament fell on my son's birthday, and it was his 9th birthday. I couldn't miss that. So
yeah, only happens once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. I had a question. Me being so old, I forgot what it was.
You got to write it in a Post-it note like I do, man.
Yeah, if I did, I'd have Post-it notes all over the screen, though.
Yeah, mine does.
But is there any? Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, you talking about your 9-year-old. I got a 15-year-old. He's like 2 inches taller than me already. I can't keep the kid in clothes or shoes. So he hits that growth spurt. You're going to be like, quit growing.
Yep. Well, he had a little one over the holidays, and it was like, yeah, kind of same thing. Like I went to put him in pants because this week it's been cold, and all of a sudden all his pants are high waters, you know. I'm like, man, I'm gonna go buy you new pants.
Yeah. Look like he's wearing capris or something.
Yeah. I'm like, you can't go to school in those, buddy.
No.
No. Don't want you to get in trouble for fighting.
No.
You mentioned St. Lawrence is one of your bucket list. What are some of the other ones?
I still haven't really fished a lot of the lakes in Florida. And so I would like to fish some of the Florida fisheries. I would love to go fish some of the California fisheries. Kind of the old school like Delta and, you know, those big lakes. And I mean, this year I got to fish St. Clair, which, like I said, was amazing. I fished Table Rock and I fished the Ozark Lakes a lot, and I enjoy fishing those because for jig fishing, it's a fun place to go. But yeah, St. Lawrence I think would be a lot of fun. Champlain, I would like to go fish Champlain. I'm trying to think where else. I've never fished Gunnersville. I see obviously a lot of fishing there. No, you're shaking your head. No, like
you don't like it.
No, I have a love-hate relationship.
I mean, I enjoyed fishing the Red River, so I'm like one of those weird people like who likes those tough fisheries. But yeah. So I really like fishing. You know, in Texas, I kind of get a lot of my style of fishing that I enjoy. And so it's fun for me to get to go to other states where it's totally different than what I'm used to. So,
yeah, Florida lakes are fun. I fished Toho as a co, and it's like most of the lakes like 8 foot. There might be one little deep section, but you have just as good a chance as the boater because everything's kind of the same, but it all looks the same at the same time. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone down there almost every year. I usually go down for ICAST. I still just haven't made it out onto the lake. So maybe this year will be my year that I've gone and done the, bay fishing stuff and caught tarpon and snapper and did all of that was a lot of fun. But the bass fishing in Florida, I haven't really experienced yet. And, you watch videos and you watch the elites and you see these guys catching these monsters, Scott Martin crushing it. And you're like, I want to do that. So
exactly.
just play a black Cinco with a little blue tail, you'll be all right.
Yeah. Those like speed worms is
I
see they fish a lot in Florida.
Yeah. How are we on? James Minold says Pickwick.
Yeah, Pickwick. I would love to fish Pickwick. Yeah, that's one that I haven't fished yet.
Got quite a few smallies in it, so it's good lake.
And you mentioned St. Lawrence and Champlain. I think every year they're on the Toyota Series Northern, so
okay,
you can pretty much guarantee if you want to do one of those.
I know. Yeah, last year I think the opens went to St. Lawrence, and I think that was the one that was on my son's birthday. Yeah, in September.
Yes. John Adams says Headwaters and Stick Marsh Farm 13 are good lakes to fish in Florida.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I've never heard of Stick Marsh Farm 13.
I think that's more of an older lake. Okay. Got popular in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, there's a lot of Texas lakes that I haven't even gone to fish yet. Like I still haven't fished OHIV. And I know that's like all the rage. I'd really like to go down, maybe not right at this moment, but I'd like to go fish Falcon in Amistad, which, those lakes are on the border. So right now is probably not the best time to be in those waters. But,
no.
But eventually, maybe in the next year or two, things will shift and I'll get to go down there and fish those. But there's a lot of good lakes in Texas.
Absolutely.
We've been talking a lot about sponsorship on our show. What would you say is the give one or two tips about someone who wants to reach out and get sponsorships?
So most of my sponsorships, I don't want to say it was dumb luck, because I feel like I worked really hard to get the sponsorships that I have. But the opportunities, I feel like, and the connections that I made to get into the place that I was dumb luck in some ways. And it was a lot of networking and a lot of connections. I think there's a few things. One, I think working on yourself as a brand is probably the number one thing that I would recommend, because whenever I ask for a sponsorship, I'm not coming with my hand out as to just what I want. I'm coming and saying, this is what I want, and this is what you're going to get for it. And it's a business deal. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. And they think of it as a handout rather than a business deal. And so for a lot of companies, they want to know what they're going to get as a return on their investment. And whether that's through your growth of your social media, whether that's you're going to attend different events, or you're going to go talk to all the local tackle shops, or you've got connections with a distributor, whatever it is that you can bring to the table, that's what you need to be presenting to them. And so, so I worked really hard in building my brand across different platforms. And even with my silly name of Texas Bass Babe, I have had one sponsor ask me to change it, and I said no. Like, that is who I've become, and there's nothing. They were worried about the sexual connotation that comes with the babe being at the end, and I said, you can look at my page. My page is completely respectful, and that's all that I promote. I promote women in fishing, and this is who I am. Take it or leave it, and they accept it. So it didn't become an issue in the end. But I think, again, staying true to yourself, growing your own brand, focusing on that, because if you only have 100 followers, it's a lot harder sell than if you have 1,000 or if you have 10,000. And understanding that with that growth, you may be able to expect more. You may be able to ask for more. But it's not enough anymore to just have somebody's logo on the side of your boat. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think a lot of guys just see logos on jerseys and don't realize all the hard work that goes into getting those logos onto our jerseys. And I don't think I've got any of my sponsorships just because I'm a girl. So
you work hard.
Yeah.
And you've done a good job. Like I said, you're always positive. You're always professional. So if anybody wants to know how to do a video, watch some of this young lady's videos and posts, and you'll get the real deal.
Thanks.
And
I
was
I've worked with a bunch of different companies, and different companies do things different ways. And there are some companies that are a little more structured in their social media and in what they expect from you and the way they want you to present their brand. And then there's others who want more of an influencer type. And so I think for some people, you just need to decide, who are you, and what kind of promotion do you want to do? Do you want it to be more professional, or do you want to be more of a product salesman online? Because there is a different approach in that.
And if you didn't catch it, she's dropped names of different sponsors throughout this show already. And I think she's the first one. No, she's probably the second one that I've noticed have done that throughout since our podcast started a year ago. And it's just like in the olden days, the commercials would be built into the show.
Yeah.
Well,
but
and
she did it real smooth.
Promotion I do for my sponsors is just product placement and brand recognition. Like wearing a Buckeye hat. I represent Buckeye Lures. Why wouldn't I wear this hat when I'm fishing, when I'm, giving interviews, when I'm out at a trade show promoting them? You want to wear their merch, you want to wear their logos, you want to present their products, you want to fish with their products in your videos. Because people notice that, and people all the time in my comments are like, hey, what is that you're fishing with? Or, hey, what size jig is that? Or what specific, bait is that? And so that's how you get to promote the brands you work for. And sometimes it's more subtle than just being like, come buy this, whatever, brand new DC Shimano reel. But,
yeah. We got one or two more comments then before we Brian Post Fishing says
Brian.
Tiffany's a wonderful fisherwoman.
Brian is one of those really good friends who I've made through the fishing community. He's a great guy, and his wife Rachel. And Brian let me pre-fish with him. We fished at St. Clair together, and then we practiced together in the next tournament. So that was a lot of fun.
He said, okay, that's basically what he said in that one. Andrew says Orange Lake, Florida has been putting out mega bags right now, taking 30ish to win a team tournament.
Ooh.
Yeah, Texas, they've been putting out some big bags in tournaments right now down in Rayburn and Toledo. It's the fishing I've heard is just amazing. I'm hoping to go down there. I'm hoping the boat will be ready this weekend so I can take it down there and do some practice fishing. But
there you go.
Off the Hooks Outdoor says, hey, Tiffany fellas in chat. Probably the most difficult question tonight is, what's your favorite homemade cookie?
My favorite homemade cookie. I'm going to go wild card here. So there are these cookies that I used to make with my grandma when I was little, and they were called Spritz cookies. And you make them like during Christmas season, and they're like, you use like a cookie press, and then you decorate them with sprinkles. And those are one of my favorite cookies, just because it's sentimental.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We make them every year with my kids, and it's
nice
tradition.
Yeah.
Yes. We're at the point where we like to give you 10 to 15 minutes to talk about you, your sponsors, or any people who've helped you along the way. So it's all yours.
Floor is yours.
Well, I'd like to say thank you all so much for having me on today. I've really enjoyed it. And I am so thankful that y'all are out there promoting females in the fishing industry. I think that's such an important thing. And it's something that's not done enough. And so I like to try to be a voice for female anglers. And everyone can follow me. I'm pretty much on all the social media platforms across the board at TX Bass Babe. You can also look for Tiffany Leal, and usually my profile will be one of the top ones that pops up. And my sponsors, I'd like to thank them all. Obviously, Buckeye Lures and Bill Lewis, also Yamamoto and the Frog Factory, Shimano, and BassBoatWired.com. And like I said, Bass Boat Wired is a really, really great online platform. If you haven't checked them out and you need any kind of boat electronics, whether it's wiring or graphs or trolling motors or motor leashes, you name it, they have it on the website. Go check them out. So that's all I got. I mean, thanks to my boyfriend and my kids who are waiting on me for dinner right now. Downstairs watching the game. But I'm so thankful to be able to join y'all tonight, and I had a great time.
All right.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I said enjoy all your podcasts and all your shorts. You do an outstanding job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we'll let you go so you can go get something to eat, and don't want to get people mad at us.
And I thank you for coming on and sharing all your experiences.
Yes,
and we'll have you on again maybe later in the year after you get a few tournaments in the front of the boat and see how it goes for you.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tiffany.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, if you ever see one of her posts or one of her, it's she's just as smooth as she is now. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah, as smooth as I am right now, huh?
Yeah. I wasn't going to comment on that.
All right. I'm staying right here. I'm staying right here.
Right.
No, I've enjoyed it. One of the smoothest promoters that I've seen, because even we have had some elite series anglers on here. They don't put their sponsors in there so smooth.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a great way to say that.
Transition was just real smooth. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to learn how to do an interview, watch this show, watch Tiffany, pay attention to what she's doing. You're never going to go wrong.
Nope.
She's very intelligent. She speaks extremely well. And just give her a follow and go fishing.
Absolutely.
Andrew says, good show, guys. Tiffany's been killing it for a while now. Yes.
Absolutely.
No, I fished probably 4 or 5 years of opens, and I've not got a trophy yet. So I'm kind of jealous on that one, but that's okay. Time will come.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not the opens.
Not a little like it. No doubt.
Not until I get a boat. So,
Yep.
All right. Anything else, Rob?
No, and then everybody tune in tomorrow night. We got our good friend James Minold on. So great guy, great fisherman. So if you would give us a like and share tonight, and tune in tomorrow night. We appreciate y'all.
Yes, and take care. Be safe, and especially those that are in Texas, Louisiana, who are going to get some snow and rain and ice. I know you're not used to it, so be extra careful. Good night, y'all.
Peace out.